Hey everyone, welcome back to Kothcast, the show where we talk about anything and everything. Today, my guest is Sibe.
Hello.
So, Sibe, why don't you? I'm just gonna call you Sibe. Why don't you kind of introduce yourself to the audience and tell everybody what your claim to fame is?
Well, my claim to fame, I don't think I have much fame. I'm not a furry artist, or nor do I create art or uh, fursuits or do any of the typical furry things that make one a furry, a prominent furry in the community. Um, my start has been definitely surrounded by a lot of negativity. Back in 2004, 14 years ago, I created a torrent site because I was a hobbyist, and I was real interested in torrent sites, and I wanted to expand my hobby to the kind of the furry world. And I didn't see that there was like a furry site for that type of thing, so I tried to create one, and it was very popular. It got 4 or 5 thousand people that joined it in the first month, and then it got shut down. And I guess I didn't like that it got shut down, so I put all the files on the Pirate Bay as the FXC Encyclopedia 2004, and it's still up there today. So it's like anybody can just go into Google, type FXC Encyclopedia 2004. It's 9.5 gigs. It was the whole website, but now instead of being a modern look at furry art and comics, because other sites have kind of taken that over. But now it's kind of a time capsule into what furry was like in 2004.
Okay. So yeah, this was mostly comics and images for related media, right?
Right. It was comics, images, as well as uh, fursuits and yiffing
Of course.
and videos of people in fursuits yiffing and
Okay, so it's mostly porn then.
well, that there was some of that, but but most of it, the majority was furry artwork, but everything was related to furries. And what's interesting is that even back in 2004 there was quite a bit of of cub art that was even then prevalent in the fandom, and this is way before there was an Ink Bunny website that kind of
Uh-huh.
warehoused the majority of it.
Now, I read basically the reason that the torrenting site got shut down, the this image sharing site, was because you were using images from artists that didn't want you sharing them, basically.
Right, and that's the thing is that the torrent site itself didn't host any images. Torrent site itself only hosted hashes of the torrent files, and so literally there was no copyrighted content on the site. You would simply click on the torrent hash, it would download the hash to your torrent client, and you would connect your torrent client to other clients and get whatever files you want from other users. Um,
Okay. Well, I mean, it was still enabling uh image sharing that
Oh,
and people.
right. Well, I mean, not only was, I wasn't the only, I was running the site, but there was like a whole crew of people that were scanning comics and organizing everything. And there was, the FXC name was not just me. There was, 50 or 60 different furries involved in
Mhm.
purchasing stuff and scanning stuff and sharing stuff. And, nowadays, sharing a furry comic, sending it to somebody, or looking at art, sharing that type of stuff is not as looked down upon as it was, frankly, back in the day. I was heavily shunned for it. I was banned. I'm still banned from Anthrocon, which used to be the biggest furry con in the world.
I guess I'm just
Um,
confused as to why
yeah.
people were so upset about it. What was
So how I feel is that Uncle Kagi felt that nobody was if you could get this content just online with a click, nobody would go to a furry convention because in his mind, the only reason to go to the furry convention is to go to the dealer den and to purchase things.
Okay. This was back in 2004. So this was way before. Actually, I don't know the exact dates when, Fur Affinity and like E621 came around. Those are the two biggest like furry image sharing places that I know of.
Right.
Was this before that?
Fur Affinity was, I believe, was around in 2004. I think I'm not sure if Dragoneer owned it by then. I know that he took it over at one point, but yeah, Fur Affinity was around by then, and in E621, I think got started maybe a couple years after that.
Huh. All
But
right.
it was neat to be able to like click on one thing and get all the furry content all at once, because there was really no place to do that on the internet, and so that was what's neat about it.
I get you. So you feel that the ban from Anthrocon was due to Kage wanting more people to attend the convention, basically, not get the.
He didn't want to hurt the business of the. He felt that I was like globally impacting the business of furry artists, and
Okay.
I thought I was doing just the opposite. And every single one of my little packs, it says that if you like that, visit the artist. It had links to the artist, where to buy the stuff. Um, all of us at FXC are furries, and had the you know a positive result for the fandom in our mind when we were doing what we were doing. And I know, best intentions. I've heard all the sayings about best intentions, but
I mean,
it was true, and you can read it in the evidence. If you download the FXC files and you look into each file, there's a little NFO file, and that would kind of tell you the info of how to get the comic if you wanted to buy it. But since a lot of it's 14 years old and very obscure, a lot of the stuff you just can't even buy anymore.
okay. So that's why people were upset. You were sharing basically pirating things, pirating
Right, I was
comics.
running the
Like you
website where the pirating was going on,
you
right?
have
And
to.
FXC was a piracy group that they copied the file, they copied the comics, and they shared them. So
Well, I mean,
it
like
was
obviously
it
sharing
was
images is fine, especially in the furry community, sharing furry art. But you're talking about sharing art that artist had people pay for basically to view, and then you were
absolutely,
okay.
yeah,
So I can I
absolutely.
can I can understand why people would be upset about that then.
No, absolutely, and I understand why they would have been upset as well. But ultimately, I feel that there's a lot of furry artists all over the world, in Central America, in Malaysia, in places, Venezuela, tougher places. Um, those people aren't any less furry than anybody else, just because they're trying to just scrounge up enough money to live and barely have any internet, um, because of the economic situation of their area. I don't feel that those people shouldn't be able to access furry content just like the people who go to the conventions. And what I felt is that to have this furry content out there, furry is so niche that it's important to promote it. And the fact that it was spread around, I feel that people became more interested in the furry fandom, and the numbers reflect that. Every year, the attendance, everything continued to go up. Because there was the 2004 FXE encyclopedia out there, nobody stopped going to furry conventions. As
Well, I think
ridiculous.
I don't think people not going to furry conventions was an issue. Maybe Kage felt that, um, if what you're saying is true, but I think it was more that artists were upset that you were hurting their business because if people can get the images for free, why would they pay for them?
That's definitely one way to look at it.
Okay.
But I think that just because people can get stuff for free doesn't mean that ethical people won't pay for it to support the people creating it.
I guess. I mean, I guess that's the argument that we get into when pirating things is like where are you hurting business if they weren't going to pay for it anyway? Um,
Right, but maybe they were on the fence about paying for it, and they download it, and now they realize they really like it, and so um, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but there is
uh,
a member of FXC that's now like a prominent furry person that's a fursuiter, spent thousands of money on commissions and comics and all this stuff. And they were a part of FXC. Um, you know, I don't believe that I don't believe that it had a negative impact at all. I believe that some people um, that at that particular time that was something that was beneficial to the community to have, access to a ton of furry art and to kind of see what is going on at a convention, even if you don't have, you know, it would take, to purchase art and get a hotel and go to a convention, that's 6, 7, 8, 900 bucks, sometimes $1,000. Some people that are living paycheck to paycheck can't afford that.
yeah.
And I don't want to deny anybody a little bit of furry fun because they're economically disadvantaged, straight up.
I guess. I can kind of see what you're saying, but I also, and I'm not arguing that that having more exposure would be better for artists, but I still
But
feel
I'm not
like,
going to argue that it's not piracy. I mean, it is
right.
literally Captain Hat on with the skull crossbones eye patch piracy. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I still feel
100%.
like, we should respect the artist's wishes. Like, as I'm not an artist, but I'm a content creator, so it's kind of similar. And if I were to post, let's say, videos on that were Patreon only, right? Like you had to pay me $1 a month to be able to watch some of my videos, and then people
Right.
were downloading those videos and just sharing them for free. I know I'd be upset, so I understand why.
Yeah. And that's kind of where piracy's going as well. Like, and I don't really engage in the furry piracy groups, but I mean, I've taken a look at kind of what's going on right now, and then they have the website that goes up from time to time, and it has all the furry Patreon content, cataloged and archived, and if you want to look at the Patreon art without having to buy it, you can look at that.
I probably shouldn't be sharing that
Oh,
information on. It's so fine. I'll guess a
well,
little bleep.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just explaining that it continues and it's out there. It continues without me, but even while that continues, furry continues to grow and grow, and so
Uh-huh.
I believe that both things can coexist with each other.
Okay. Maybe. Well, okay, I definitely understand
I,
some of the hatred directed at you, though.
no, I get it, but both things are coexisting with each other.
Uh-huh.
Like I get it, and I understand from an artist's perspective that you'd rather have full control over everything all the time. Um, but that structure is just not, unless you're like in totalitarian China and you're the government, you can't clamp down on the that type of people spreading the images and stuff, and I think it's been largely uh because a lot of it was just comics, because a lot of people didn't post the comics on the web like a lot of people do, or have links to Patreon where they can tease a couple images and then get you over to Patreon and convert your money that way. There's a
Right.
lot more options out there, and piracy it always will coexist. Is it important to fight piracy? Obviously, I guess if that's your point of view, then absolutely, it's important to do what you got to do to protect your business and your copyright. I mean, I'm 38 now. When I was doing what I was doing, I was 24. So I feel like a lot of my thoughts have evolved and over the years, and
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
you know
you're still banned from most major furry conventions.
no, that's not even true. I'm
Oh,
I'm
it's
banned
not?
from Anthrocon only,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
the only two major furry conventions I was banned from because of that were Anthrocon and Further Confusion in California.
Oh,
And
okay.
2 years ago, Further Confusion in California officially uh, unbanned me. after 12 years.
So
So
okay,
I served a good solid sentence of
a
banning.
sentence of furry exile.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, no, I wouldn't say furry exile. I went to lots of other conventions. I did the Rainforest thing. For 3 years, I went to Rainforest. I was sad when it got shut down, too. It was fun.
Yeah, I've actually never been to a furry convention, but I will be going to Anthrocon for the first time this year, and
Well, I
as well
hope you
as
really enjoy yourself.
uh, I hope so too. I kind of doubt it, honestly. And
Right. I hope you don't go and they're like, oh my God, I'm a dragon and this is what it is. This is horrible.
well, I mean, I don't know. We don't need to get into that. But
Well, why not? It's your show.
oh, okay. Well, all right. Because mostly I wanted to hear you talk and your thoughts and
No.
ideas.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that's fine. I was just interested. I was just being, I get it. You're trying to talk to me, so it's
well,
cool.
okay. But I will say, one thing I will say about and conventions in general is that okay. So I
Right.
went to Otakon,
Right.
and it was okay. Right. Like I like anime, and it was cool seeing people in costumes, and
Yeah.
it was neat looking at all the garbage people were selling, but
Garbage?
just junk
Anime stuff.
anime garbage plastic shit
I hate anime stuff. I
made
don't
in
like anime
China
stuff. Yeah.
that costs $2 and they're selling for $50. Garbage, right?
Yeah.
Garbage.
Gatekeep the weebs out of the furry fandom. Gatekeep them out.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding. It's
that's
just a joke.
That's a whole different story. I feel like
Don't edit out where I said just a joke and then like play the other part.
I feel otaku and furries are basically the same thing. They just don't realize it.
Yeah, but they're very angry at each other.
Yeah, it's
the
just so random. Very angry. Yet they'll both sit down and watch the same anime because they're like, oh yeah, that beast woman, like, or whatever monster woman is
so
hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. It's so funny though. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
The reason...
but don't RT furry onto my timeline. Anyways.
The reason I don't like conventions, based on the convention I went to, is because there's basically nothing to do. You walk around, you look at the people, like, oh, that's neat. You go to the shops or whatever and look at all the garbage people are selling. There's a few panels, usually with people you don't know or care about. Like when I went to Otakon, there are a few like voice actors that I've never heard of, and it was like no one really famous, of course, because then it might be interesting. But just because I couldn't get them because it'd be too expensive. And I also went to MagFest, and it was the same thing. It was people in costumes, which was kind of neat. There was like a floor where there were all these video games that you could play for free, like all these arcade machines, which would have been cool if it weren't so crowded that you couldn't actually play on the arcade machines. And then it was just nothing. It was like a 3-day event, and I was over it in like 2 hours. And I just feel like a furry convention, it's going to be the same thing because,
well, I always found that whenever I went to a furry convention, though, I was going to meet up with furry friends that I never got to see because
Right. Yeah. But that's actually the main reason that I'm going is just to try to meet people. I'm actually doing a little event. I don't know when I'm going to post this, probably within the next few days, but Saturday, the 21st, I'm doing a 12-hour stream to try to raise money so I can actually get to Anthrocon, because it's going to be like $500 for me to actually just get there. And
yeah.
So yeah, I think
what you should do is you should tease a little bit of the podcast if you really want to get maximum traffic. I'd cut out some of like the juicier bits of the podcast or something, even that sounds juicy, and just put a couple like, dude, I interviewed Sibe. Look at some of the stuff he said. I'm going to post it later, and then just build the hype a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, it's just, little clips that make people excited, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll definitely look at that, later when you post it. I mean, I don't know. It's how TV shows do promos.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I haven't seen a lot of YouTubers do like sneak peek of next episode type shit, Anyway, okay, so what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is the main reason I'm going to the conventions I'm going to Anthrocon and Fur Affinity United. Because Fur Affinity United is actually in my backyard, so that works out. To meet people. essentially. So
Right.
if people want to see me at Anthrocon, they can help me get there. That's the idea anyway. Because I don't know if I'll enjoy
Right.
it, but I will definitely go to meet people.
So you can't afford it.
No, not on my own, but we're gonna see if.
Correct. And so that's why, working backwards from that, that's why I did FXC in 2004, because I felt like there were people like you that, because there were only 2 conventions in the United States at the time, might want to have access to content like that. They're living,
Mm-hmm.
check to check, but they will still want to look at Dragon comics.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a bunch of Dragon comics on there. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff. Any type of furry that you were, it was all in FXC. It was like a snapshot of everything furry that was going on at the time. So
I'm totally fine with like image sharing and things. If that is, if it's free, basically, if the images were free to begin with, if it's artists drawing things and there was no like place to really post them, and then you have all
right,
of that and then you're sharing with people, that's perfectly fine. The
right,
problem I have is with
it wasn't
sharing.
that at all. It was people scanning comic books.
Oh, okay. The problem I have is with people sharing stuff that the artist intended to be purchased, because then you're hurting their business or whatever.
Right.
And it's a little bit different.
And I
I'm not completely like, I might get in trouble for this. I'm not completely 100% against any kind of piracy. Obviously,
so you're saying that you have not paid for every single TV show and movie that you have ever
right,
watched in your life
e-
downloaded from the internet?
exactly. I guess the difference is that
I'm clutching my pearls over here, by the way, clutching them.
I I guess I guess the difference is that in my mind is that I
Right.
don't really care if I'm hurting like some giant fucking corporation that makes billions of dollars a year. I do care if
Right.
I'm hurting like some artist small business.
Right. And FXC did care, and when you look at every single file and the information, it shows you exactly where to buy it, recommends that you do buy it. It's just that 14 years later, a lot of those, there's no place to buy them. But I mean, you can look at every single
Yeah.
file, and there's stuff like, if you like
Well,
this, please
yeah.
support the artist, please purchase it, because maybe you don't have money now, but down the road you will have money.
Well,
And
yeah, at this point it doesn't matter. Like you said 14 years ago, none of that stuff is
well,
going to be
other
anywhere.
people are doing it in other ways now. Like I
Oh,
mentioned,
okay.
the
Well,
bleep website earlier.
yeah. Yeah, that's more of an issue right now. But what you did, 14 years ago, I don't really, it's kind of done with, it's not hurting anybody at this point, cuz most of that is just not anywhere else anyway, not available.
Right.
That's what I don't understand, like, just kind of getting into something else similar is, I don't understand about companies getting so anal about ROMs of games that you can't actually buy anymore.
Well, it's because if they don't assert their copyright, and because of the way copyright law works in America, if you don't assert your copyright, you can lose copyright over your creation.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. Just frustrating. Anyway,
And
okay.
and trust me, I've learned more about copyright law than I frickin' ever wanted to know. But I mean,
Yeah,
I respect that artists are out there, and I try to support artists. I try to support, you know, young artists, older artists. I try to support, the transgender people out there. I try to support, the furries that are, people of color, and different cultures. And I I don't know. I feel like I try to do a good thing, and I feel like that, I've spent, many years, just trying to be a peaceful, good person. And, I don't feel that, if what I was seeking was people to finally say, "Oh, Sibe's redeemed, and we accept him in the furry community. Finally, now that he's 50 years old, we will allow him to, be a furry." I'm not waiting for these people. I'm
well, I
going to be
mean,
furry around the people that allow me to be around them. And the neat thing is that because I have a large reach, I'm
uh-huh.
able to have a circle of friends that, don't subscribe to the kind of groupthink that kind of goes on.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same position, honestly. I mean, I have,
And I've seen you be attacked too. I've seen you be
yeah,
attacked for your opinions and some of the stuff that you said about the Zouch situation.
uh-huh.
And that stuff isn't fun to read. I mean, how does it make you feel when people are saying some of the nastier stuff to you? It's not fun.
Yeah. Uh, well, yeah, like I said, I'm in a similar position where there's definitely a group of furries who are very much, when you're talking about groupthink, it's like a group. And yeah, I don't like to use buzzwords usually, but the word SJW comes to mind, where it's like a,
Well, and the thing that I hate about that word
uh-huh,
is that like that's a word that like people that are like very right wing use. And
yeah,
not only do I mean I live in Portland, Oregon, so I fucking not only do I really hate liberals, I really hate fucking Republicans. And I don't I think social justice is important. I think that it's important for transgender people to be able to pee in bathrooms and like, all the gay people to have rights. You can't fire
uh-huh,
somebody because they're black. I mean, you know, all the
yeah,
I mean that stuff's important, but but for these people to make that important good stuff, they're bullying because of that. I feel that people want to feel righteous in their crusade, and so if people want to bully or be fucked up to people or try to get people fired from work or dox people, they're just going to do that, and they're going to come up with whatever justification makes them feel righteous in their own mind, unless they're just kind of fucked up people and they're you know on the fucking Kiwi Farms website, like trying to fucking
yeah.
make just it's
I understand what you're saying. It's definitely a
yeah,
sort of moral crusade.
yeah, and it's like and I get it. Some stuff's distasteful to some people, but you know the way that they're attacking people is it's unfortunate. But it's also effective. It silences people. It does make people who aren't like me, who just are like "fuck you" to the internet, and like bring it on, fucking all 1,000 of you motherfuckers. Let's have
Yeah,
a conversation. But like some people are like don't have the energy for that shit. And I get it. My persona is a husky, so it matches me as a person because I'm hyper and have a ton of energy.
I thought you were gonna say because you're a slut.
Well, I'm that too, but you know what? I own it.
Okay. Anyway, so what you were talking about earlier and what you mentioned earlier, and actually kind of the whole reason that we did this in the first place, even though we got distracted. Uh,
Are you enjoying yourself?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. As long as you're having fun, as long as I can make dragons smile, Huskies are having a good time.
I'm sure. Uh, the whole reason we
Right,
did this in the
always.
first place was due to the argument right now on Twitter. There is like an anti-Cub Yif moral crusade going on.
Right,
I've already made a couple videos about it, so I
right.
don't think I'll be making another video about it.
And I haven't seen all of those videos about it.
Uh-huh.
But let me ask you real quick:
Okay.
do you like looking at Cub Yif?
No.
No. Do you put a negative judgment on that?
Put a negative on people
On
who do
people
look
that
at
look at that? Yeah.
No, I don't care what people do, what fantasy porn they look at.
Right. Well, I think what some people fail to realize is that, like, you're looking at the representation of the fantasy representation of two, sometimes, 20, 30-year-old men
Uh-huh.
that, and these are their characters. And because, they are, partners with each other or for whatever reason, they're consenting adults that have these characters, fantasy characters,
Mm-hmm.
and they go and they, have an artist draw them, gifting on in the art, and so these people are conflating it with and I think truly to the disservice of people that are victimized by child pornography. It's a different thing, and I can understand why it's distasteful, because some people look at shit and they're ignorant, they don't understand what's going on. But other people are like, oh yeah, that can be used to um, groom children, and it's like, the truth is that most children are victimized by people in their own family, that
Okay.
and and then that's the truth. And it's, there's this myth of like the stranger danger thing, but the truth is, and law enforcement professionals who look into this type of thing, you can Google it and look it up online. They always look at the family members first in these types of cases and things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that these people think, okay, yeah, they're doing this to groom people, this and that. The horrible crime is out there. The children that get molested and victimized, for child pornography. That's a horrific crime. But there's, just because those you know those people are victimized, that's different than what is going on with drawing artwork on a page. There's nobody being victimized. It's something that's typically between two consenting adults, and
I would hope
I
so.
think, well, and I know so, but I mean, it's drawn, fantasies on a piece of paper. It's not
Right.
the victimization of children, which I think is which is a totally different thing. And again, it's again the slippery slope on the moral crusade against, banning things that I don't like,
Yeah.
because truthfully, most people that aren't furry, that look at furry art, think that these people are into having sex with animals.
Right.
And
And you're bringing up a lot of ideas that I've said before. You know that, and you're right on pretty much every account. Well, I believe anyway. I mean, who's really right or wrong? But originally, the argument was child pornography is the same thing as drawings of young furry characters, which is absolutely not true, both in like a literal sense, right? One is a drawing, one is a photograph,
right,
and also in a legal sense. You will not go to jail for having Kubyuf. That has never
in
happened
the in
in the
in the
United States
United
anyway.
States,
The United
right? Yeah,
States
in
anyway.
Canada you can,
In Canada, oh
but
well, fuck Canada. But if you will not go to jail for that, there have been people who have gotten in trouble in some states for possessing manga, I guess, of or
right,
anime of
right.
young human characters. But usually,
I'd also like to mention that those drawn young human characters in those mangas are not typically representations of two consenting adults. Not that changes the drawn lines on the page, but you
it
know,
kind of depends on states. But usually that's also in conjunction with actual child porn. Usually they use that as a way to like show we had actual child porn and he had all this like these drawings of
correct.
depicting human characters. And so there are some cases in some states, and I mean, I'm talking about like a few, like maybe a dozen over the course of the history of the United States, where someone has gone to jail for having manga, which I think is still wrong. I think that is fucked up that you would go to jail for a drawing, regardless of what it is. But it's in conjunction with actual child porn, so that makes sense. Anyway, my point is that no one has ever gone to jail and probably never will for drawings of non-human characters. So to say that's the same thing, or to say that it's illegal, which some people do, is just completely wrong.
Well,
And
and the people, you know, and a lot of the people are trying to make it seem like the same thing by calling it CP,
yeah.
which is very like wink wink, haha. We got him, you know, to use it like that. Um, and it's definitely not that. But what it
Right.
is, it's the first kind of step in the moralistic crusade. And if you look up like the burned furs, this thing's already gone on in furry. And
Right. We had the burn furs, and then after that, now we have like the alt furry. It's like the same sort of group, right?
well, the alt furry is kind of like the Nazis did nothing wrong kind of group, you know. And then
Okay.
but the thing is that they have a moralistic crusade too. And that's what's so funny about the far left social justice people is that a lot of, you know, what a lot of their stuff aligns. um uh some of the
Right.
far left
The
stuff
far
and
left
some
and
of
the
the
far
far
right.
right
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
some horseshoe conspiracy theory.
it's not a
Type
horseshoe
of shit.
conspiracy theory. They both it's absolutely in
No,
black
you're
and white.
right.
And before I seem like the guy that like is on that fucking episode where he's like, you know, hold on, and I bring you to my office and there's fucking, you know, red yarn, you know, between a bunch of different fucking pictures, and it sounds crazy, you know. But the fact is that both of them, you know, want to ban art based on the sexual content.
No, you're right. You're right. The
Um,
far left and the far right use a lot of the same tactics, and it's kind of funny watching them argue and fight on Twitter. Uh,
right, because they're both fucking crazy.
so okay, we get back to what we were talking about. Like originally, or what I was talking about, because I just want to
Yeah,
finish
that
my
wee
thought here.
squirrel. I'm a husky, so if there's a squirrel there, I'm gonna chase it as fast as I can.
Okay, what I was getting at is originally the argument was that people were saying was that child pornography is the same thing as kubyuf, which is incorrect in every sense. They know they can't win that, so now what they're saying, now the new thing is that, well,
Shame the
well,
artists.
even if it's different, what they're saying is that it can be used to groom kids to,
Right,
or it will turn you into a pedophile if you look at it. Right, those are two arguments
right,
now. Um,
right.
and so that is the whole with both of those arguments. What I have
Well,
to
my
say
thing
is,
is that those people have already looked at it.
uh-huh.
That's why they're angry at it. So have they turned into pedophiles then?
Well,
That's a fair question.
probably
Because
not.
because if they haven't taken a look at it, then they don't know what it is to be exposed to it. They just know it is like an ephemeral thing. And I guarantee if they're angry at it, they've looked it up to look at it.
Uh,
So are they exposed and then infected, and then now they are the walking dead of the kid
well,
touching world?
it's the
I guess I
violent
don't
video
know.
games makes you violent argument all over again,
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the
and
sexual
so
games will make you sexual. I mean,
sex,
it's like,
yeah.
you know,
Looking at, well, I mean, that's what's like conservatives have been saying for forever, is that looking at porn makes you a sex criminal. That argument has been around forever. Playing,
of course.
so it's just
It's an easy moralistic argument, because when people are in front of other people and it's like the global shout box, everybody's going to be like, yeah, I'm virtuous, I've got, you know, such great morality. And then people can, you know, feel like, you know, they're taking a big moral stand, like, I'm against pedophilia, unfollow me if you're into that. It's like, you know, that's that's
right.
great. You know, it's great to know that you're against that and that you want those type of people to unfollow you. But
But who is
you
who
know,
is who is openly for child porn and pedophilia? That's the thing. Who is openly for that? Who, because they're like, oh, you support
not
pedophilia.
especially not cub artists, because if you read about, you know, if you look into it and you see, you know, what cub artists write about what they write, They feel that it's a fantasy expression for them. These are fantasy characters. They don't prescribe them to be any particular thing. Now, when you mentioned the Zausch thing and the thing with Cobalt,
Uh-huh.
um, you know that's getting right up to the gray area line there, to be using the type of references that they were using, and that type of thing. But the thing is that conversation that they had, just because it was screenshotted, lots of people have conversations like that all over the furry internet.
Yeah.
So there's whole chat rooms that discuss you know Cubs, and in these chat rooms there's thousands and thousands of people that are interested in that type of art and role playing like that, yada yada yada. So
Right.
all that exists. um but I also understand, people are trying to call out all these popular artists because they don't want the most popular artists in the furry fandom to be these people that they feel like they disagree with. And I also understand, the Zausch thing has other, kind of layers to it because of the history and the ferality thing, and kind of his history with people in real life. But um, I get that.
Right. So I want to go back to the basic arguments that people are making about how looking at Cub will either turn you into a pedophile, or Cub is bad because it it can be used to groom children. And the thing is that while I don't believe that there is a large number of those cases, I don't believe it's like a statistically relevant thing. I do think that
I mean, I'm sure it's happened.
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm
I mean,
sure it may have
everything that freaking
happened.
happened.
It
Like, lots of
may
stuff has happened.
it may be true to some degree, but what we
But
have
is
to
it
ask
prevalent?
ourselves,
That's ridiculous.
what we have to ask ourselves is it worth banning all like cub art or a certain type of art because it can be used for something bad? Is is it worth it to do that? And some people would say yes, but I would say that if you think that, uh, you kind of have a misunderstanding of freedom of expression.
And it's a more nuanced argument than people get, and that's why it went to the Supreme Court in 2004. And the case was about virtual child pornography, 3D models,
Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
of
I didn't know about this.
right. So in 2004, there was a Supreme Court case about that, about whether or not virtual child pornography is illegal, using these 3D models of kids, and creating porn with that. Um, and they ruled uh, that it was in fact legal,
Mm-hmm.
um, because there was no because the reason that child, okay, because so here's the moralistic argument, and it's tough to wrap people's heads around it because I'm saying a lot of words that like really trigger and anger people just to even
Right. Yeah.
hear.
It's hard to have a conversation about it. That's the problem in the first place.
Correct. So the reason that in the Supreme Court argument in 2004, the reason that they said that virtual child pornography can exist under the First Amendment and freedom of speech is that, um, the reason that child pornography is wrong is illegal is not because pornography is wrong, or more pornography itself is moralistically bad. It's because children are being victimized to create it.
Exactly.
And if there is a way to you know um I mean, if something is artistic but appeals to those same type of people, but does not victimize children, is that illegal? And they ruled with only one dissenter, that all the judges except for one ruled that that it was acceptable under the law and the freedom of speech
Right.
in the United States.
That's the idea that I try to get across to people, but I think they have a hard time understanding.
Look up what the justices said in their decision,
Uh-huh.
and it gives you kind of a legal idea from legal brains bigger than mine. So if you Google the 2004 Supreme Court ruling
Right.
on that.
So, my thought is exactly the same as yours, exactly is the same as those judges, is that if there is no victim, then it's not a crime. But and that's true, and that's why it is legal. But the argument, trying to play devil's advocate here, the argument is that it can be used to commit a crime, and I would say,
right, as could legal pornography.
Right, as could yeah. And I would say, and we'll go back to that using other examples, but I would say, yes, it is possible to use it for a crime. It is technically possible to use it to groom children.
So all these furries are looking at cub porn and they're buying these dongs from Bad Dragon. So the Bad Dragon has to stop selling the real small dongs because they could be used to insert into children.
Okay. I would maybe. I was going to say that
I'm just saying, like, it's just as ridiculous in my opinion.
I was going to Jesus Christ, what I'm trying to say is that even if all of these things are technically possible and something can be used for bad, it doesn't mean that it should be universally banned and shunned just because it can be used for something bad. It is not worth it. It is not worth it, and people don't seem to understand this, especially those on the far left. Actually, those on the far right too. It is not worth it to lose.
Into my horseshoe conspiracy
theory. It is not worth it to lose basic freedoms of speech and expression because some people might be hurt. Right? It is not worth it. And they don't understand that. And
it's important to not want to hurt people, but it's also important to be able to have the mind space to act out fantasies amongst consenting adults.
Exactly, and that we can't call that a crime. And it's really fucked up in Germany. It actually is a crime to have to create porn of certain fetishes, certain kinks, and one of them is female orgasms, because it looks too much like peeing, and that's considered obscene. So yeah, you're not allowed to have
in Germany.
In Germany, yes.
Shut it down! Like everything in Germany is about scat porn.
Well, that's obscene. It's not allowed anymore, and it's like, we don't want that. That's why it's not worth it, because we don't want people telling us what we can and can't do between two consenting adults. Right. And that's where it goes. That's what it turns into when you start saying you can't draw certain things. And it's a drawing to begin with, and you can't draw certain things.
But it's a moralistic crusade, because, like, culturally, when you think of Germans, you immediately think of what? Nazis and scat porn, right? And so they got to take care of the Nazis.
Right.
First, and now
when I think of Germans, the first thing I think of is
scat porn.
Is Nazi scat porn. Sure. Okay.
Right. Exactly. No, Nazis and scat porn. But I mean, the Nazi scat porn, I'm sure, is part of the deal. But
that's part of the culture.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that the Germans, they're doing the best that they can. They're right next to Russia. They're the Europe, they're trying to make money as a country, but the European Union's a little bit leery of letting them run all of Europe for whatever reason. I
couldn't imagine why.
I can see their hesitation.
Oh my God, what were we even talking about?
We were having fun.
Well, I mean, what were we even?
I don't know.
Got distracted from something.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
So what do you like to look at as far as furry
Oh, here we go.
sexual images? Do you look at the furry dragon
Here's the
sex?
question. Yeah. Wow. Do I
Yeah,
really want
like,
to reveal all this information? I guess it doesn't matter. It's nothing bad
well,
anyway.
it's very benign, and I'm not talking about like cub dragons. I'm talking about people that have like went to the Dragon DMV and got their ID, and
Went to the Dragon
or
DMV. Yeah, I signed up with
yeah,
well, you got to go by the Council of Otherkin Elders before you're allowed to have a dragon, feral dragon
right.
persona.
Oh
Um,
yeah, there you go.
so what do I like? Wow. Okay, this is gonna be demonetized. I've said
No,
before.
let's not demonetize it here.
No,
Let's
it
just
doesn't.
bleep
It
it all
doesn't
out.
matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. YouTube sucks.
You should sell. You should
I'm
sell
not gonna make any
t-shirts.
money off of this anyway. It's not. YouTube doesn't promote things anymore unless you're a fucking
You
millionaire,
should sell. You
Jimmy
should sell.
Kimmel,
I hate
fucking
Sibe
Stephen Colbert.
t-shirts so that these people could like virtue signal right on their t-shirt that they hate me.
Jimmy Kimmel's a real person, right? I just said that name. I didn't even think about it. He's like a talk show or
Jimmy
something.
Kimmel?
Yeah.
He's a chalk show or something. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Only
yeah.
a couple
Okay.
million people look at him.
I said
Like,
I said the right thing. I just that name came to mind, and I was thinking of a talk show, and I was just like, "Wait, is that even a real thing?" Sometimes I have,
oh yeah.
brain problems. Okay. Anyway, what we're fucking
Yeah,
talking about? Oh, about my kinks. Okay. So
yeah.
vor, I've said vor before. Well, it comes with being a dragon. You kind of have to,
Eat people, right? Most dragons are a little like to
a
eat a little
little
bit, but
bitey.
right.
Okay.
But is it like a soft vor or is it a hard vor?
Oh well, soft vor. Yeah, soft vor is
What do you
generally.
think of the hard vor?
Some people are into it. I mean, what do you mean? Do I think it's wrong or something?
No,
No.
no, no. I mean, like, do you think it's like a little? Is it too hard for you, or do you just kind of like the softer
I've
kind of like
okay, so I've been
just
in the
slide into my tummy kind of vor versus the eat you, chew
well,
you a little bit?
I've been in the furry community for 15 years, and
15 years. Congratulations.
as you well know,
You're
nothing
in the Furluminati now, or the Dragon Illuminati.
nothing surprises you anymore after you've been in the furry community for 15 years. Like so, um,
It's all very benign, and I love it when like when like there's like waves of people, and we're like, oh yeah, that's been done like every 4 years for the past 15 years. It happens all the time. They always do this, and like the burn furs, and
oh
yeah.
yeah, new wave of exactly
New
new
wave of
wave,
burn
the new
furs that are doing the
generation.
burn fur thing.
Well, the new generation of young furries come in, and they're all like
Right.
aghast
Yeah,
once they realize what the
they're
like
like, we need to
depths.
clean this up.
And
We
it's
need to
like,
clean this up
no,
because
this is our fandom. This is the fucked up fandom that we've created and
yeah,
we've been a part of for our
yeah,
entire lives. You
yeah.
need to leave if you think you're gonna change it. Fuck
Right,
you.
right, yeah. But here's the thing: is that those people, a lot of those people, they go to the furry conventions
Uh-huh.
and they, want to wreck the hotel and they want to, you know, have these alcoholic parties that like people are like, they have like ambulances on call for all the people that are getting ambulance to the hospital for alcohol poisoning, and it's like, furries there's actual things that people could be talking about that could be helping people, not hurt themselves in the fandom. Like, don't just because Uncle Hokage drinks a ton of alcohol and just super super drunk, it's probably maybe not the best for everybody to get super drunk, because some people can fuck their lives off with alcohol, and that's the truth.
Uh-huh.
But some people can enjoy it responsibly. But the thing is that alcohol is one of those things that you don't know which one it's going to be until you try it.
Okay. Well, so what were you getting at?
I don't know.
God damn it.
No, I mean, if you can imagine, I'm literally sitting in my living room with my bong in my hand,
Uh-huh.
right, and I'm watching my boyfriend, who's a coyote, right, and he's waving at me now, and he's playing Grand Theft Auto 5 on like a 135-inch projector screen.
Oh my god. Okay.
And I'm sitting on the couch on the side just watching him play the video game while you're doing that, and occasionally putting it on mute and taking a bong hit while we have the interview. So if I'm
good.
rambling, it's because I'm just relaxing and taking a bong hit.
That's okay. We've managed to stay mostly on two subjects instead of skipping all
Perfect.
over the place. So,
Yeah.
what I feel like I was in the middle of
We
a
were talking
thought.
about we were talking about your kinks. You were telling me a little bit about
Oh,
vor, and I was
oh,
like, "Is
okay,
it hard vor?" And then you were like, "No, more
right.
soft vor." And we
Well,
were
that
kind of talking about that. And you were like, I'm not trying to groom cannibals. I don't like
yeah.
jack off to Hannibal Lecter. Like,
Well, I mean, even if I did, what? Who cares?
well, I mean, did you?
Well, have I jerked off to vor before? Yes, definitely.
No, no, no. Like during the have you seen The Shining of the Lambs?
Shining of the Lambs, the Silence
Yeah.
of the Lambs,
Silence,
the
sorry, The Shining. I
Shining, the
conflated the
shearing of the
name with
lambs,
the movie The Shining,
the
which is
Shining.
also a scary
Also,
movie, The
Hannibal
Shining
Lecter is
of the
there.
Lambs. But The Shining of the Lambs is actually an Indian knockoff movie. It's a Bollywood movie where this guy, he has shiny lambs, right? And he sells them at the market, and he has there's a big dance routine. It's Bollywood,
I
The
don't know if
Shining
you're
of the
joking or
Lambs.
not because that sounds like a thing that might exist.
Exactly. So I say it with confidence, and it sounds like it could be a thing.
The Shining of the Lambs. Okay,
Yeah.
so did I jerk off during the Shining of the Lambs? No, actually,
No,
I
no, the silence of the
the
lambs, because I mean
si-
there is a part of war involved.
if no, it was fucking disturbing. Because
Disturbing.
it was because it was even though I knew it was a movie, it was much closer to reality than furry porn is, which is
Right.
So, but even so, I don't think it should be illegal. That's the thing that we're talking about. Like people are getting all up in arms over Kubyef, but it's like we say way worse things. Like you do realize that murder is worse than child porn, right? Like people do realize that, don't they?
But people, it's a worse criminal offense. But I think people might be less angry if you murdered somebody.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, and you're probably right, which is very strange. But anyway, going back to so in fantasy depictions of this, why is it that we can play? I'm sure some of these people they'll play whatever Grand Theft Auto or whatever, murdering
Yeah,
hookers and
we're just
stuff, and then
playing
they're
Grand
like,
Theft Auto. Yeah,
then they see some Twitter thing and they're like, man, fuck these people who like Kubyef. They're so wrong. They're so morally wrong as they're shooting up a school in Grand Theft Auto or whatever. So it's
yeah.
like. It's like where's the line? Where's the like moral? I don't believe in an objective morality. So
The line is very easy when you have when you live in a comfortable shout box of something that everything you agree with is what you agree with, and everybody around you agrees with everything you say, and you agree with everything that they say, and you guys work this feedback loop of agreement. um then it's really easy to be like, I don't like something, this thing is bad and problematic.
it's problematic. And
And
then
that
yeah, and they have their group and block anyone who
Right.
disagrees with them. So it's like the world is just that group of people who always agree with them, and anybody outside of that who disagrees with them is like an outsider. But what they don't realize is that everybody disagrees with them except for those people in that small group. And that's
Yeah.
the funny thing about this is uh all of the artists and content creators and people who basically make the fandom are on one side, and all the people who are like just I don't know, just whine like this sounds really fucking pretentious, but just like whiny nobodies are on the other side. It's like listen to the artists, maybe. Think about that for a second. Think about what the artists are saying, what the people who created this community are, not what the people who contribute nothing to the community are saying.
Well, they're contributing. They're silencing the artists. They're making the artists not feel like that this isn't a safe place for them to have that particular fantasy with these fantasy characters, uh regardless of whether or not the characters are represented by consenting adults. in real life. The truth is that these are characters. It's art
Fucking
on a
lines
page.
on a
And
paper. It's fucking lines on a paper. It's
but the thing is that it's not is they've decided that just because it is lines on the paper, they're like, oh yeah, well, that doesn't mean that we can't shout down the people that we don't like, because for whatever reason that we don't like it, because that's our First Amendment right. And you know uh I feel that, I guess it is. I guess that's the beautiful thing about America, is that
mhm.
everybody gets to yell at each other.
But that's
But
right, and that's fine. That's fine, right? And
right.
this is what it comes down to. But what they don't realize that they're advocating for is to take away their own ability to yell about things. That's the sad part.
Well, I mean, it's like, what's the next step? It's like, okay, so I get it. So let's play the future, and let's ban, cub porn and cub artists, any type of cub artist
Well, let's
ban,
just ban
anything
all
right now.
furry
Fine.
porn because it's just bestiality, right?
Well, no, I mean, that's the next. I mean, that's kind of the next step. It's like, okay, so now we've got the Cubs banned, but now we've got to ban the furries that have animal dongs. Like, if you
Uh-huh.
got human dongs on furries, that's okay. We've decided, that's you can go with God with your human penis on your
Go
wolf,
with God.
but right. But if it is a dog penis on the werewolf, we're gonna call you out. We're gonna send all your artwork to your boss at fucking Taco Bell, and you're gonna get fired. And I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
like that, and then so what's next after that? So then, we don't want to ban furry completely, but we also want to ban other problematic things. So, like, you know
Anything
um
involving death, so vor is done. Anything violent.
yeah,
Um
yeah, anything non-consensual, because I mean, consent has to be, you know it's impossible to have you know consensual non-consensual fantasies.
right.
Right. And I think it's because these people are ignorant sexually about the scope of the truth of human sexuality.
hmm
And
Yeah.
and I feel that and a lot of it's just younger kids that are like, if I don't like something, I'm gonna shout it down, and I'm gonna get all my friends together, and we're all gonna do it.
Yeah, and that's what it is. That's what I see.
Right.
Basically, is a bunch of like there's all the artists and all the established like furry content creators and everything on one side, and then there's the like newest wave of furries on the other side who are all, high schoolers who have decided to like pick up a moral crusade against something because they can, I guess, because I
Right.
don't know. This was the same problem I've always had in the furry. Let me tell you a story about remember the game Flight Rising?
No.
Okay, so it was like a Neopets type game but with dragons. And in the first couple of months that game opened up and I was playing it, one of the creators uh got called out because at some point, like, 5-10 years ago, whatever, on his Facebook, he said that he wouldn't date a trans person, right? And so that caused an uproar, and everybody on the forums, right? And these are all like 15-year-olds, started saying that they didn't feel safe because this guy was there, and basically chased one of the creators of the game and the head programmer, by the way, away from the game. And the company that made it, because it was just a group of like 5 people, had to let their lead programmer go because the people on the forums wouldn't shut the fuck up about him being transphobic because he said he wouldn't date a trans person like 5 years ago on Facebook. And guess what happened? The game went to fucking shit because they didn't have the person who created it basically there to maintain it and add features, and everything was super slow going, and I don't even know if it's still around. It might be. But so I'm just, I say that story as kind of a cautionary tale of what happens when people who are kind of just consumers of of something start chasing away the creators of something.
I mean, I agree. I think, you know, I think that the younger people of the fandom are, you know, important. But let me open the transgender can of worms, because I'm already on record on Twitter from all these transgender people saying that I am extremely transphobic.
Okay.
So let me just throw that out there. They think I'm transphobic. I have transgender friends. I love transgender people. But transgender people, the liberal left people like to put the transgender people on a pedestal because they're like, you know, the identity politics trap card right now.
Right.
And, you know, transgender people can be fucked up assholes and
Yeah.
and virtuous, you know, good people too, you know, just because, you know, just because you're a transgender person does not make you a virtuous person. It makes you a person like any other person.
Mm-hmm.
um I and I have two transgender people on my night out of my 19 person moderation team for my little YIF chat room on Telegram. And the reason they need freaking 20 moderators is because there's 500 users in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
It needs 24-hour moderation. Um, and so let me talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
The RUF chat room started off as a link from the RUF Reddit, which is reddit.com/r/YIF.
Mm-hmm.
It gets about 250,000 unique views every month, 2.5 million page views, and it has the ability to sticky things at the top. And so I created an official chat room a couple years ago, um, and stickied it to the top, and then people could just, you know, join from Telegram right there. And then I also made a Discord,
Mm-hmm.
and the Discord also has, like, you know, 6,000-7,000 people on the Discord. And that has a whole mod team too, um, and it's very interesting. It's like the Discord one and the Telegram one were like, it's kind of like a real neat ant farm, except with furries, right? And so you create a little Discord server and a bunch of people join it, and you're like, who sounds like they're running the shit? And so you figure it out, and then you like let a couple people run the stuff, and then you come back a couple months later, and like there's a bunch of, you know, the server's all dialed in, and, you know, there's different colors on everybody, and I'm like, oh, whoa, you guys have done a ton of stuff. uh and that was really neat to see.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, because it's EF, and because a lot of people are sharing, you know, personal pictures of, you know, themselves, nudes and whatever, and it's sex positive area and environment, that it's very important everybody, you know, is over 18. And so one of the huge things that the mods do is they deal with anybody who's like, if somebody, you know, points out, oh, look at this, somebody says they're under 18 in their profile,
Yeah.
they're here, you know, in Telegram, they're gonna note that, and they'll remove them from the chat room. And and if somebody's suspected to be underage, you know, they'll ask them for an ID verification, because, you know, if you know, you can't, you know, interrogate everybody, but if somebody is interacting and posting, and it seems like you might be underage, or you're saying things like, you know, talking about your parents in school in a way that, you know, seems like you're not of age, you know, we'll that's what I have a 20 person mod team for. So
Right.
it is a not, you know, it is truly a safe space in the social justice snowflake kind of way. for furries, because we don't allow people to talk shit about people's appearance. You can share, your pictures, whether you're, huge or skinny or small or fat or dark or albino white or, ginger, or, have a tiny dick or a huge one, or like a flappy vagina or like a tiny one, or whatever, I'm saying. Nobody's going to talk shit about you. And if they
Okay.
do, it's against the rules and the mods kick you out.
Mm-hmm.
So that is censorship. I get that. But, if you want to have a nice chat of 3,500 people, if you don't kick out the assholes, it becomes YouTube comment section.
Yeah, that's an issue. We're kind of, we're kind of coming near the end of the hour here, so it's unfortunate we could have a whole conversation about censorship and things, but I think that what we talked about is fine. Is there anything else that you want to say, add on until we end it here?
Yeah, I just if somebody sat through listening to all this, I appreciate them listening to me and hearing me out. Feel free to contact me on Twitter at _Sibe. Check out the Reddit at reddit.com/r/yif. And there's links to all the other stuff on both of those. So if you want to stalk me, that's the best way to do it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming by and chatting with me. It was interesting to talk to someone who is a little bit different than a lot of my guests, I guess. Most people come on here are, YouTubers, and you're more of a like a site manager, more of like in the technical side of the furry community than as a like content creator, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a community organizer.
Right.
In the Barack Obama sense.
Right. Well, I appreciate you coming by and chatting with me, and it was nice to talk.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Take care, brother.
Okay. And I'll see you, and everybody watching, thanks for that. And I'll see you next time.